Like, did you go through the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, were you facing any problem?
No, they were okay.
Okay, like all the questions were okay.
Yeah, they were
Okay,
fine.
just give me a moment. I share my screen. Just recording now. Hi. Can you see my screen, Cynthia? Okay. So,
Yes.
I've gone through standard one and two. Like since we did that class when we were there in that class. Hello. Okay. So we'll be
Yeah.
starting with standard four today, and probably we'll try to complete it standard four, and after that we will left with standard five, six, seven. So this will take three more classes to complete ethics, and then maybe we can keep one class for the doubts. So let's start with standard four. Any general doubt you have regarding the subject ethics? Hello. Okay. So
No.
standard three was all about how you should, be loyal to your clients. Like standard three was loyalty towards your duty towards clients. Now standard four is after the clients come, after the client portion is done, like what is the priority list? That first you should give priority to your clients. After that comes our employees. After that comes our personal interest. So standard four is duties to employers. What is your duty to your employer? Just like in standard three, the first standard 3A was loyalty, prudence, and care. Okay. Similarly, in the same pattern, standard 4A, the first standard is loyalty to your employer. Like it's just stated loyalty. Okay, let's go through this. In matters related to their employment, members and candidates must act for the benefit of their employer and not deprive. Just a second. Sorry for distraction. Yeah. The standard four is in matters related to their employment, members and candidates must act for the benefit of their employer and not deprive their employer of the advantage of their skills, abilities. Okay, so this means that when it comes to your employer, you should always act for their best interest, and you must not deprive of whatever skills, abilities you have. This means that your employer is paying you something, paying you for the work you do. So when you are working, you must give your full potential to that work and not deprive your employer of the many skills you have. Divulge confidential information. Suppose you have any information which can be fruitful to your employer. Like, just say you know that one of your colleague is onto something which is which is illegal or which is harmful to your employer. So you must not divulge that confidential information, and you must let your employer know that such and such thing is happening in our organization, and you should look into it, or otherwise cause harm to the employer. You also cannot cause harm to your employer. This means that suppose you are working at your a company, and then you get an offer from another company who is your firm's competitive. Okay, what you are doing is you sign an agreement with them that I'll be working with my employer as well, and I'll be part timing at your company or firm, and we'll keep this as a secret, and let's not let my employer know that I'm working here. And what you do is you are taking some information from your firm to their firm. So this is also causing harm to your employer. So standard 4A states that you should be loyal to your employer. You should use your skills, abilities at your best, and not deprive your employer for the many skills you have. You must not keep information hidden from your employer. It is applicable to all the employers. If members are independent contractors, like some people are there who who aren't there as a full-time employee at the firm, but they are independent contractors. They are working at they are contractors to many firms, but still they have to abide by these terms and agreements. It doesn't matter whether you are an part-time or whether you're just an intern there, or you're an employee, full-time employee, or you're an independent contractor. You have to abide by the terms, regulations, agreements, whatever is there in that firm. You must not engage in any activities that would injure the firm, deprive it of the profit, or deprive it of the advantage of the employee's skills and abilities. You must not, you know, conduct any activities that could cause harm to the firm, or would cause harm to the firm's profit, or deprive your employer of the many skills and abilities you have. Members and candidates should always place client interest above the interest of the employer, which we had learned in Standard 3, that above your employers, above your personal interest comes your employer's interest, then comes the client interest. But they should also consider the effects of their actions on firm integrity and sustainability. Along with placing the client interest above your employer's interest, you should also consider like what are the actions, what would be the effect of your actions on the firm's integrity, sustainability. It shouldn't cause harm to your firm or to the firm's profit. There is no requirement that the employer put employer interests ahead of family and other personal obligations. It is expected that employers and employees will discuss such matters and balance these obligations with work obligations. Now, what do I mean by your employer's interests are above your personal interests? It doesn't mean that you cannot take holidays. You cannot take holidays when you're sick just because your employer's interests are above your personal interests, and you shouldn't deprive your employer of the many skills you have. It doesn't mean that you can't take holidays, you can't take sick leaves. It doesn't mean that. It just simply means that when you're at your work, you should give your full potential to the work you're doing. You must not indulge in any activity which can cause harm to your employer. It like the personal obligation and the professional obligation are different. And when you're signing the contract with your employer, it should be discussed beforehand. There may be isolated cases where a duty to one's employer may be violated in order to protect clients or the integrity of the market, when the actions are not for personal gain. Suppose you know that your employer, is doing something or has policy which is against your clients. So in that case, we know that first comes the client interest. At that time, maybe you are violating this law standard that you should be dutiful to your employer. But we know that before employer comes the client interest or the integrity of the market. So there may be cases when you are violating your duty to your employer because you are protecting your client or the integrity of the market. So these actions are not for your personal interest. These are for the client interest. So this is acceptable. This isn't violating any standard. Some firms are required to have whistleblowing procedures in place to allow anonymous reporting of illegal or unethical acts. Suppose you know that an employer or some policy which an employer has is violating a client interest. So some firms also have whistleblowing procedures where you go up to the designated authorities and you tell them that such and such thing is happening and I believe you should look into it. Members and candidates should know their firm's policies and encourage their firms to adopt best practices. You should know what your firm's practices are, policies are, and you should encourage your employer that if you aren't following this practice or policy, I believe that we should have this policy in place so we can protect our clients' interests or we can protect the integrity of the market. Independent practice for compensation is allowed if a notification is provided to the employer fully describing all aspects of the services, including what is the compensation, duration, and the nature of the activities, and the employer consents to all terms of the proposed independent practice before it begins. Now, suppose you are working somewhere for 5 days, mostly Monday to Friday, and for Saturday and Sunday, you are given an opportunity that you can work with us. Now, it doesn't mean that just because you have to be dutiful to your employer, you cannot, take a part-time job. First requirement is that that part-time job shouldn't be in conflicting interest to your employer. After that, it is required that you go to your employer and you tell your employer everything that I'll be working with, this organization. This is the compensation I would be given. This is the duration of time I'll be spending. Like suppose I'll be spending 5 hours on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday. And this is, my task. This is the nature of activity I'll be performing. This is such and such thing I'll be doing. So after that, you get your employer's consent that he or she agrees that you can, take up this side job or part-time job. And if your employer agrees, then you can go forward with it. Before, taking up any side job or any part-time job, it is advisable that you take your employer's consent. When leaving an employer, members must continue to act in their employer's best interest until their resignation is effective. Suppose you have resigned, but your notice period is still going on and you haven't got the official notification that your resignation is effective and you are no longer the employee of that organization. Till that period also, you must be loyal to your employer and you must not uh, you know indulge in any activities that can create harm to your employer. Activities that may constitute a violation includes now when you are leaving an organization, you have many secrets of that organization. You have the client list of the organization. You have, the models, the different workings that organization do in order to create, generate profits, or you have some, you know, very, very confidential information that the board of directors of that firm is going through such difficulties or the firm is in debt. So these activities constitute a violation if while you're still the member of that organization, you have given a resignation, but your official resignation isn't out yet. So you can't misappropriate appropriate the trade secrets. Like what are the practices which are undertaken at that firm in order to undertake trades or spread confidential information, or you pursue your employer's client before leaving that firm. Suppose you have 3 months of notice period at that firm, and in that 3 months of notice period, you are approaching your clients, employer's clients, and you're telling them that I'm leaving this organization, and since I'm the spokesperson which you are always dealing with, I'm the one who manages your funds. I'll be going to this company after my resignation is completed, after my official resignation is effective. So I think you must move your fund from this firm to that firm. This is pursuing your employer's clients before you're leaving that organization. Or suppose you have the client list with you, you are you have taken that client list, and in that 3 months of period, you are calling each and every client and you're telling them that you are leaving the organization and you're joining that organization, or you're starting a an independent firm. So you think that they must shift their funds to your firm. So this is also violation. Employer records on any medium, example, home computer, tablet, cell phone, are the property of the firm. So many times it happens that when you are working at a firm, there are many records that you have on your personal computer, tablet, or your mobile phone. So these are your firm's personal property, and all these informations need to be discarded whenever you are leaving that firm. When an employee has left a firm, simply knowledge of names and existence of former clients is generally not confidential. Suppose by memory you remember that your employer had these clients, and by memory, after your resignation is effective, everything is done. You are officially not that you're officially not anymore the employee of that firm. After that, if you pursue those clients, it is not a violation. Just by simple memory, you remember the names and you're contacting those clients after your resignation is effective. There is also a prohibition on the use of experience or knowledge gained while with a former employee. Suppose when you were at your previous firm, you learned how to use stress testing to your client's advantage. So this is also not a violation if you use those skills at any other place. If an agreement exists among employers that permits brokers to take certain client information when leaving a firm, a member may act within the terms of the agreement without violating the standard. Now, by standard 1A that you should follow whatever strictest standard exists. So if there's an agreement between your employer and the broker that you cannot take the client information when you are leaving the firm, you cannot pursue these clients in the future, then you must follow this agreement. Members and candidates must adhere to their employer's policies concerning social media. When planning to leave an employer, members and candidates must ensure that their social media use complies with their employer's policies for notifying clients about employer separation. Now, along with these practices, a firm may also have laws and regulations regarding social media. When you are leaving an organization, maybe your employer doesn't want that you put it on your social media that I'm leaving this firm before the official notice is out. What happens is when you are putting on your social media that you are leaving such organization before the official notice is out by the firm, many clients may be in touch with you in your social media, and many clients may not be in touch with you. So some clients are receiving that information for some clients. So in a way, you are differentiating between clients, discriminating clients. So members and candidates, they must follow whatever rules and regulations regarding social media are there. And the best practice is to separate your professional activities from your personal activities, from your personal social media, so that in any way unknowingly also, you aren't violating any law. After that, you must follow whatever procedure is there in order to inform all the clients that you have separated from a firm. Can you go through these recommendations? So, what is the recommendation for members? Members, you must encourage your employer that whatever the codes, standards the employer is following, or whatever the codes and standards you are obliged to follow as a CFA charter holder or as someone working in that country. So, many countries have different regulations when it comes to investment profession. So you must encourage your employer that give me the copy of the codes and standards I'm supposed to be following, so that you don't violate any code or standard. After that, the best practice is you separate your social media accounts for your professional and personal communications, so that whatever your personal information is, it doesn't go out to your clients, and you maintain your professionalism even when it comes to social media usage. And what is the recommendation for firms? You should not have any incentive or compensation systems that will encourage your employees to indulge in any activities which is unethical. Is it clear, Cynthia? Any doubt in standard 4A? Sure.
No, there's no doubt.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, got it.
standard 4B is about additional compensation arrangement. In standard 4A, we talked about that what will happen if, where's that line? Yeah, a dependent practice for compensation is allowed. So what will happen if you are, getting into an arrangement? Suppose you want extra money, or not just you want extra money, you are interested in, doing a certain thing apart from your full-time job. You like working. So after that, what is the rules and the procedures you should be following for additional compensation? So, first, you must not accept gifts, benefits, compensation, or considerations that competes with or might reasonably be expected to create a conflict of interest with your employer's interest. First is if you remember, we read it in the clients that standard that you must not accept gifts, benefits, compensation from your clients if these gifts, benefits, or compensation are expected that when you receive these gifts, compensation, or consideration, you will be disadvantaging some of your clients when it comes to allocating your trades. So we read that in that standard. Now in the standard we are reading that when it comes to accepting gifts, benefits, compensation, you must not accept these benefits from someone who is your employer's competitor, or or maybe it is expected that after you receive these gifts, benefits, compensation, it will create some conflict of interest with your employer's interest. So you must not accept these benefits, compensation, if it is expected to create some conflict with what your employer's interest, employer's profit, or it may cause harm to your employer, unless you obtain a written consent from all the parties involved. Now, what do I mean from all the parties involved? Suppose you are getting into an additional compensation where, so with a firm A, and you are working at firm B. So you have to get the consent from the firm A as well as from firm B, because both the parties are involved here. You need to clearly, state in writing obtain a written consent is very important. Uh, the consent cannot be oral. You cannot, uh, claim that you haven't violated the standard if the consent is oral, because no one remembers what we had, the conversation, oral conversation we had. If it isn't recorded somewhere, maybe my employer had agreed that you can do such thing, but when he or she started facing losses, or when he or she started, recognizing that this additional thing is harming them, they decided to disregard that they had given me the permission orally to undertake that task. So it is very important that you take the consent in the written form for your own safety from all the parties who are involved in that compensation arrangement. Compensation includes direct and indirect compensation from a client and other benefits received from third parties. These compensation can include the direct compensation. Direct compensation is directly they are offering you the money, and indirect compensation is, let's say, they are offering you a vacation to any place you wanted to go. This is indirect compensation. So it includes direct and indirect compensation from your clients, your employer's clients, or any other third parties. Written consent from a member's employer includes email communication as well. It can be email communication, it can be communication in a letter where, the stamp and signature, everything is given. Understand the difference between an additional compensation arrangement and a gift from a client. Now, what does this mean? What is additional compensation and what do you mean by gift from a client? Can you go through this? After that, I'll explain. Can you explain me the meaning if you could understand? Mehek, Cynthia, any one of you can explain me the meaning, difference? If you can't, I'll explain. Yes or no? Okay. So, we have an additional compensation arrangement, and then we have a gift. Now, uh, when I talk about gift, let's talk in a very layman language. A gift is something, when you give someone a gift, you don't expect anything in return. When you went to a birthday party and you gave a gift to your friend or a relative, anything like that, you don't expect anything in return. So a gift would be given from your client. A gift or an additional compensation can be the same thing. A gift can be that you are offering your, employee, or a client is offering you a trip to somewhere, and an additional compensation arrangement can also be that your client is offering you your a trip to somewhere. What is the difference? A client, when is offering you a gift for what you for your performance, for your past performance, like you were managing the client's portfolio, and you had generated around 12% returns. The client is very happy because the client expected only 10% return. Now you generated 12% return. So for your past performance, the client is gifting you something. This comes under standard 1B, that you should be, remember we read that standard 1B states that accepting any form of gift, you should first take the employer's permission, and if it is not, if it is not manageable to take the employer's permission before accepting the gift, you must disclose it to the employer after accepting the gift. So when a gift is given in the case when it is relating to the past performance. Now, when coming to the additional compensation arrangement, compensation is what? Uh, your employer is compensating you for your work, for your future performance. So that is compensation for what performance, for what work you have done. You are getting compensated. So when your client bonus, your client says that I'll be giving you, let's say, 5% of whatever profits you create on my portfolio on let's say in the year 2026, starting from now in the year 2026, whatever uh, bonus, whatever profits you'll be creating, 5% will be yours. That this means that you're getting an additional compensation in the future, which is dependent on what your future performance will be. Here also, uh, it requires that you accept the that you get the written consent in advance. When it was regarding the past performance, it was regarding the gift, it needed that you disclose your employer that I have accepted this gift from our client based on my past performance, and before accepting it, if it wasn't possible, then you disclose it to the employer after accepting the gift. But when it comes to additional compensation, or when it comes to getting a bonus on your future performance, it requires that you receive consent. You ask your employer that whether I should accept this bonus or not, accept this additional compensation or not, in written consent in advance. You cannot accept this additional compensation arrangement and then you go to your employer, then you get the consent. But in case of a gift, when it is based on past performance, you can accept the gift beforehand if it wasn't possible to disclose it to the employer, and then get the disclose it to our employer. Is it clear now? Okay. Now, what are the recommendations for members and what are the recommendations for the firms? Make an immediate written report to the employer detailing any proposed compensation and services if additional to that provided by the employer. We read it here that whenever you are getting any additional compensation, write a detailed report, like everything you should mention that I'll be receiving this and this amount for such and such, performance for this fund which I am managing. Everything should be written in very detail. Members and candidates who are hired to work part-time should discuss any arrangements that may compete with their employer's interests at the time they are hired and abide by any limitations their employer identifies. Now, when you're working somewhere part-time, so it is expected that you wouldn't just be involved in that work, you would be taking up different works too. So beforehand only discuss whatever limitations you have, whatever arrangements can be, discuss whatever restrictions that employer has on you, and then start working. First understand first understand the restrictions, the limitations clearly before starting work. Recommendations for firms: details of additional compensation, including any performance incentives, should be verified by the offering party. When a client is coming, when an employer is coming to you as a firm and telling you that I'll be indulging into such and such additional compensation, and I need your consent in written, so you should verify whatever information your employer has given you from the offering party, from the so let's say, and a client is giving that additional compensation, so you should verify that information from the client before giving your acceptance. Is it clear? Any doubt in standard 4A and 4B? Okay. 4C. We'll be done with standard 4, I guess. Sir. Responsibilities of supervisors. Can you go through this and tell me when you are done? Just this, the writing in blue. Are you guys done? See, standard 4C talks about what is your responsibility as a supervisor. Okay, till now, we read that as an employee, what are your duties to your employer and everything. Now, as an employer, what are your duties? Suppose I am at a position where I have certain people under me. I have a team of, let's say, 10 people under me. So I am supervising those people. So, what are my duties in order to protect the integrity of the capital market or the market as a whole? So, first is you must ensure that anyone who is under you or subject to your supervision, you are, given the responsibility that you must supervise whatever activities these people are undertaking, or you have been given the authority to, take care of these people who are under you. You must ensure that whoever is under you, they are complying with all the laws, rules, regulations, whatever the code standards are. What are the laws, rules, regulations of your firm? What are the laws, rules, regulations of the country in which you are, established? What are the laws, rules, regulations of the country in which your client is there? What are the laws, rules, regulations of the CFA society? So, as a supervisor, what is my responsibility as a supervisor? That whoever is under me, under my supervision, they must comply with all the laws, rules, regulations, codes, standards. If any employee who is under me isn't following any laws, rules, regulations, code standards, or is defaulting anywhere, violating any standard, that employee is responsible for that. That employee is violating, that is for sure. But along with that employee, it also comes to my head that that employee was under my supervision and I couldn't detect that employee is violating that law and I didn't take any action. So you must make reasonable efforts to prevent employees from violating laws, rules, regulations, or the code of standards, as well as make reasonable effects to detect violations. So a question can come that as a supervisor, what is your role? What is your role is just preventing employees from violating the laws, or your role is detecting the violations also. So, like it is, it may seem very stupid, but when you're giving the exam, you often get confused that was my role just as a supervisor? Are you just supposed to prevent your employers or as well as detect the employers and fix those violations? So, as a supervisor, you are expected to do everything. Okay. First, you should, make reasonable efforts in order to prevent employers from violating laws. Suppose there's a very, famous thing called Chinese walls. When there is a, department that is into research, and then there is a department that is into undertaking trades. What the research department does is a research department conducts research into all the companies. They make reports, everything. They does the analysis. They do the analysis, and then there is a trade department who is expected to conduct trades on the behalf of the clients. Now, when you are undertaking trades, you are expected to be very independent. You are expected to take independent decisions, be very objective. And when you are conducting any research, you are there also you are expected to be very independent in whatever you are writing, giving, making conclusions about the firms and everything. Now, these departments need to be separated. Why? Because when you're conducting a research, and the trade department may get influence from what you are concluding, and may take trades depending on your beliefs. So he or she may not be independent enough in order to form their own conclusions while undertaking a trade. Or when someone who is in the trade department is, is in talks with someone who is in the research department, the research department may get influence that this person believes that this stock is going to do good in the future. So this firm maybe will be doing good in the future and may write that report based on this assumption. So it is very important that you keep these departments separate. So, as a supervisor, it is your responsibility that you prevent your employees from violating the law of independence and objectivity, and you keep these departments separate. And whenever you detect any violation that this person is talking to this person, you are allowed to talk. It doesn't mean you can't be friend with these person, but you aren't allowed to share critical information. Share the information. So when you detect any violation, then you must directly take an action, immediate action before uh, you know uh, before letting a huge time pass, and that violation of law had a harmful effect to your firm. An adequate compliance system must meet industry standards, regulatory requirements, and the requirements of the codes and standards. When you are at a supervisory position, you must also see that whether whatever the your firm has, your firm must have a compliance system. That if someone is indulging into this thing, these are the steps which should be undertaken in order to report, or these are the compliance, or these are the rules, regulations, policies which an employee is expected to follow. So you must also look at whether your compliance system is meeting whatever the standards which are required from the industry which you are working in, from the codes and standards of the CFA organization, from the regulatory requirements of the country in which you are established. Members with supervisory responsibilities have an obligation to bring an inadequate compliance system to the attention of firm's management and recommend corrective actions. When you believe that your firm's compliance system isn't very efficient, you have that responsibility that you tell your firm's management that I believe you should be adding this law to our compliance system, because the industry believes that this law should be followed, and you recommend whatever is the next best course of action should be to your firm's management. What happens after you have, told your firm's management that this should be added or this should be removed, but they don't listen to you, or they don't take you seriously and take immediate actions. In that case, you should decline your supervisory responsibility. You must decline from that position in writing. You must tell in writing that I'll be not undertaking these responsibilities as a supervisor until all the adequate procedures are adopted by the firm, are in the place, so that in that case you aren't violating any standard, any laws, rules, regulations, or any standard. You are following all the standards. If the firm isn't taking any good compliance system, you have informed the firm that you should include these standards as well, but the firm didn't listen to you. The firm didn't adopt these standards, so you declined your responsibility in writing that I'll not be, the responsible person for this. I'll not be taking up that responsibility. So whenever you include that laws, rules, regulations, then only I'll accept my responsibility again. If there is a violation, respond promptly. Don't take much time. Conduct a thorough investigation while increasing supervision, or placing limitations on the wrongdoers' activities. Mark it is important. This line can come as a question that whenever you face any violation, what should be a course of action should be. First, you should respond very promptly. Then a thorough investigation should take place. Then you should increase your supervision, and you should place limitations on whatever on the wrongdoers activities. For the person who has committed a violation, you should place limitations on that person's activity. Suppose a trader has done any violation, so you should limit that trader to, let's say, stop trading for the client's portfolio for a week until the investigation is completed. So you must conduct a thorough investigation. You must respond promptly. You should increase your supervision along with that trader. Placing limitation on that trader, you must increase your supervision to all the traders or the group of traders regarding that particular law. And after that, you must place limitations on that trader's activity as well. Any doubt in 4C?
No.
Okay. Go through these recommendations. Are you guys done reading? Yes, no.
Yes.
Okay. So as a member, first, it's very, generic that you should first tell your employer that adopt all the code of ethics, give me all the regulations, guidelines I have as an employee. After that, as a supervisor also, you are an employee, you are a member. So as a supervisor, there are the recommendations for the supervisor is also included under the recommendations for members. Now, what should be the recommendation for the supervisor? First, you should look at that the compliance program is in place. You should distribute it to the required people. You should keep updating it. You should tell your staff that if that we are undertaking a new work, so you should be, uh, taking these new trainings. You should tell your continue. You should educate your staff regarding all the procedures. You should remind your staff regarding if they're follow if if there's a certain thing which needs to be reminded, that you after, let's say, you have a law in place that monthly you are required to inform your clients about whatever the trades you have conducted in their portfolio. So you, after, in the month end, you have that responsibility that you issue reminders to the people under you that the month end is coming. Form your prepare your reports so that you are ready to give it to our clients. Then you conduct evaluations, professional evaluations, and you see that all the employees under your supervision, they are following everything, and you identify whenever any violation is there, and then you take prompt decision. Okay, now what is the recommendation for firms? The recommendation for firms is, first, you see that all the compliance procedures are in place. They are clearly written. By clearly written, I mean is, whenever a person reads that law or that rules or regulation, there shouldn't be any doubt which comes to my mind. It should be clearly understandable in a simple, plain language. Everything should be written. It should be easy to understand. Then you should have the compliance procedure in compliance officer in place. You should have a person who is responsible for seeing that all the laws, rules, regulations are followed by the employers. Then have a system where you check where you check all the violations and take any actions. Then you must have that structured way that if any violation has taken place, what would be the procedure of reporting that violation, and what would be the procedure after the reporting is done, what are the further steps that are taken, what is the procedure of conducting the investigation, and the last thing is your incentives, the incentives or the compensation which you give to your employee. It shouldn't be based on any unethical behavior. Let's say that you don't you know base your compensation. You have a very big client, institutional client, who invests about, let's say, 50 crore with you, have invested 50 crore with you, a portfolio of 50 crore, and then your compensation arrangement to the employees who are managing that client's portfolio. You have stated that along with your usual compensation, you will be getting 5% extra returns if you generate above 15% returns on that client's portfolio. This is unethical because you are discriminating against other clients. So you shouldn't base your incentives or your compensation for your employees in an unethical way. Is it clear? Standard 4 as a whole. Standard 4 was regarding your employer. First was loyalty. You should be loyal to your employer. Second was what are the additional compensation arrangements which can be made, and if it is made, what are the laws, rules, regulations you should be following. Standard 4C is what is your responsibility as a supervisor. Is it clear? Okay. Now, do you guys want me to move standards to standard 5 as well? Standard 5 has three substandards, 5A, B, C. I think you can complete it. Yes, no?
Ma'am, can we do the standards 5A?
Sorry.
Can we just do standard 5A?
And just to standard 5A. Okay. Cynthia, your take on this? The standard 5A and wrap up the class?
Yeah.
Okay. So, standard 5 is investment analysis, recommendations, and actions. So, till now, first standard was, let's have a recap. I want you guys to, just flip through your pages. Standard 1 was regarding the laws, rules, regulations. What was standard 2? In a crisp way, if you can tell, like standard 1 was all about professionalism. These are the laws, rules, regulations you should be following. What was standard 2?
Capital market
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah, standard two was protecting, the capital market, protecting the investment profession. Standard three was regarding your clients. Standard four was regarding your employer. Now, what is standard five? Standard five is regarding what are your analysis, the analysis you, undertake, the recommendations you give, the actions, the trades you undertake in a client's portfolio. It is regarding these analysis. So see, I'll just be, going through the three standards. Like I'll not be getting deep into 5B and C. First is your analysis should be very diligent and reasonable. Okay. Standard B is how you should communicate your analysis recommendation to your clients and prospective clients. Standard C is whenever you are conducting any analysis or recommendations. Remember, I told you that you should have your records in place. That whenever you are undertaking any, something from let's say a conclusion from any other site, and you are concluding that you must write it that I have taken this up from such and such site, so you don't conduct any plagiarism. You must maintain records when you are undertaking any analysis. So standard C is how you should maintain your records regarding your analysis recommendations. So we'll be getting into standard 5A today. Standard 5A is you should be diligent and you should be reasonable. What do I mean by diligent and what do I mean by reasonable? So, regarding diligence is that when you are making any analysis, recommendations, anything your clients, you should be very, honest about it. You should be very independent. You should be thorough. You should take, conduct full analysis of whatever you are doing. Uh, you shouldn't take any decision from, from a bird's eye view, like a general point. You looked at a portfolio, a balance sheet, a P&L. You were in a hurry. Let's say you have to do an important task after a half an hour. So you just had half an hour to go through that P&L or a balance sheet, and just by looking at the P&L and balance sheet from an overview, you concluded that, okay, it looks fine. The stock is good. I should buy that stock. You aren't diligent here. You, as as an employee, as someone who is responsible to your client, you weren't truthful. So you should be very diligent. You should be very independent. You shouldn't get influenced by other people while conducting any analysis, and you should be thorough in analyzing investments. So, if you were given a task to complete it in 3 days, and in the last day you started doing that task and you completed that task in one day, knowing very clearly that that task was supposed to be 3 days, and that task was a 3 day task. You weren't just given 3 days, uh, you know, uh, uh, you weren't just given 3 days like very casually. The employer know that this certain task will require 3 days. So the employer had given you 3 days, but 2 days you enjoyed, and the last day you started that task and you completed that task in a hurry. So you weren't very thorough. So, whenever you are making any investment recommendation, taking actions, analyzing investments, you should be diligent, independent, thorough, truthful, everything. Like you should undertake that task. You should, feel that whatever, when you are managing your client's portfolio, it is your own money. Have a reasonable and adequate basis supported by appropriate research, investigation for any investment analysis, recommendation, or action. Whenever you are making any analysis, recommendation, action, whatever basis you are taking on, whatever you let's say you suppose that you believe that the stock will do good in the future. Now, why do you think the stock will do good in the future? Just because you heard it from somewhere, or just because you think that you are very interested in the you're very interested, you like this industry very much. Let's say you like the food and the quick commercials industry very much because it gives you a sense of comfort. So you think that this stock will do good in the future from just your personal analysis. This is not reasonable. Reasonable means you study the financial statements of that firm or the industry. You get into whatever that firm has been doing. You read the firm's past information. This is reasonable. This is adequate. So your research investigation should be supported by reasonable and adequate research. The application of this standard depends on the investment philosophy adhered to members and candidates, roles in the investment decision making process, and the resources and support provided by employers. These factors dictate the degree of diligence, thoroughness of research, and the proper level of investigation required. Now, The standard is applicable to all the members and the candidates who are into that role, where they take the decision where for the clients, where they give analysis to the clients, where they give their recommendations to the clients, and the degree. Like, what is, suppose you are, at a position, uh, at a very, low level of position. So you are given something to research. So you have just started in that company. You are a fresher. So you don't have that much knowledge. So you are given to do a preliminary research. So you did your preliminary research to the best of your abilities. And then after that, the report was submitted to a higher authority. Okay, your senior will have, more skills, abilities. So your senior will require a higher level of degree of diligence, thoroughness, which greater than what was expected from you. He or she did the research from their end, and then it was shifted to the senior most level, who is very qualified, who has, let's say 10 years of experience. So it is required that he or she is more diligent in whatever he or she is, in the task, more thorough, because they have more skills and abilities. So whatever the factors, so there are certain factors which dictate what should be the degree of your diligence, thoroughness, or what is the proper level of investigation required. The level of research needed to satisfy the requirement for due diligence will differ depending on the product or the service offered. What is the product you're offering, or what is the service you're offering? Let's say you are offering a service that says that you will be giving recommendation to the clients based on what the firm has done on the past 3 years, and then there is a different level of service that you'll be giving recommendations analysis, a thorough recommendation analysis on what the firm has been doing since last 10 years, or since the time the firm has established. So your research, whatever, the level of research you needed, the in-depth study, it will also depend on what the product you're offering, or what the service you're offering. But your client should be very clear that your client is getting only a 3 years basis of research, because your client has opted for that service. A list of things that should be considered prior to making a recommendation or taking investment includes, whenever you are making any recommendation, first thing is always you should look, the at the company's performance. There are many things which need to be included as well. What is the client's portfolio's requirement? What is the global or the financial economic conditions? What, globally, what is happening around the world? What is the limit? Well, if you are using any model for research, are there any limitations of the model you are using? What are your peer groups, what are competitors doing? And whether their valuations are appropriate. What are your le- what are the firm's financial results? What has the firm's results been? And what is the fees you are charging? What is the, if you are suggesting a client to invest into a mutual fund, what is the fees the mutual fund is charging? What were the results of the mutual fund? Whether the fees the mutual fund is charging will, if it will be greater than the returns the mutual fund will be generating. So is that suitable for your client? What does your client want? So there are many there are many lists which needs to be followed before making the recommendation. Now, go through the recommendation for members. Let me know if you have any doubt. Recommendation for members and recommendation for firms. So, as a member, you should encourage, see, it is very generic. First, you should encourage your firm, you should adopt a policy, encourage your firms to follow the best policies. This will always be there for the recommendations for the firms. So, you should recommend your firm that you should adopt a policy to review the quality of the third party research you are undertaking. Uh, we have, in the standard that you should be very diligent and you should be reasonable. So, by diligent is uh, when you should be very thorough. So when you're thorough, there are many third party members would be there who are conducting a research, and many a times we take their research because they are trustable, or we are paying them to conduct those research for us. So if we are dependent on any third party, we should follow a procedure when we review whatever the third party is doing, the quality of their research. Let's say after every 6 months you are reviewing their quality of research. If your firm doesn't have this policy, you should encourage your firm to have this policy in place. Okay. Now, what are the criteria which you can use in reviewing the quality is what are the assumptions the third party is using. Assumptions are very important whenever it is talked about that you are following any model in order to conduct a research. So when if it is written that you're following any model, or if it is written that you are dependent on a third party for a research, the two or three things which you can, checklist can be that first review the assumptions of the third party, or review the assumptions of the model, see what are the limitations of the third party research, see what are the limitations of the third party of the model you are using, see whether the third party research is applicable to your uh, results, or see whether the model is suitable to your research. Determine how rigorous the analysis was, how timely the research was. Suppose you needed the research for the last 1 month and the third party had conducted the research after a month. So there was a time a gap. You needed the information for the past 1 month today, and the third party did was late in performing the research and had given you the information 15 days later. So there was a 15 days gap, and you could have done a lot in those 15 days. So you identify how timely the research was done, evaluate the objectivity and independency of these recommendations. Now, members should encourage their firms to consider these policies and procedures supporting the standard, requiring that the research reports recommendations they have a basis that can be substantiated as reasonable and adequate. Whatever the reports recommendations you are making, you should have reasonable and adequate basis. Detailed written guidance for proper research and due diligence. Guys, give me a minute, just go through this back. I'll be coming back in a minute. Hi, sorry for the interruption. So, you should have detailed written guidance for whatever research you are doing. Uh, for you should have measurable criteria for judging what is the quality of your research. You are undertaking any research, so your firm should have the criterias placed for understanding that whether the research which has been undertaken by the employers, whether they satisfy the required quality or not. You should have all the written procedures in order to accept, like there'll be many models which are used in order to understand whether a stock is doing good in the future or not. There will be many you'll there are many cash methods in order to understand, evaluate a stock's price today.
you'll be reading in the equity topics about these many models. Like there is a DCF model, discount cash flow model. Then there's a dividend discount model, DDM. There's a Gordon growth model. So there are many models. So you must have those policies in place, that whether this model is suitable or not, what are the range of scenarios you can include this model, and what are the limitations of these models. Then if you're taking information from outsider, then you must have, you know, that third party information you are taking. So we read it here, that whenever you have a third party research, you are taking the research from a third party, you must always check what is the quality of their research. And the last point is, you must adopt a standard set of standards that provides criteria for evaluating external advisors, and state how often a review or of external advisor will be performed. Suppose you are a firm and you are advising clients regarding their portfolio, regarding their investments. Okay, and you don't have advisors in your firm. So you are appointing external advisors for that. So you have certain external advisors, just like you have external third party research, you have external advisors here. So you must have criterias which are placed in order to how to evaluate those external advisors, and how often a review of external advisors is needed. Is it clear, guys? Standard 5A. Cynthia, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a class tomorrow also. Do you guys know about
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
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 Okay. What I want you guys to do is, tomorrow we'll be going through 5B, 5C, and in under 6, we have 6A, 6B, 6C. Okay. See, standard 7 is very easy. Just to let you guys give an overview. Standard 7 is very, very easy. It is nothing. Standard 7 basically is a guidance to how, as a student of the CFA body, you should behave. Standard 7 is all about that. So if possible, or if you guys want, I want standard 5 and 6 to complete by tomorrow, and standard 7 to be taken up in the next class, which will be in the next weekend. And then we can give schedule a class for the doubts, or you guys want any different pathway. You want the doubts to be taken first for all the 5 standards we have completed, like 5A till 5A.
Uh, no, I mean, even if it's afterwards, it's fine.
Okay. So, see, we have completed till 5A, and you have noticed that there are many, many standards which you have read till now. So, what I want from you guys for ethics subject is, once a week, make sure that you go through all the standards and you mug up these standards. The blue portion, especially the blue portion which is there, it is very important that you have that it has been printed in your mind. Because see, ethics will be same repeated in level 2, and same 7 standards will be there. There'll be nothing new which will be added in level 2 when it comes to ethics. Only the difficulty level of questions will increase. So if your base of ethics is very clear, from now on in level 2 you will have one subject done and dusted. So be very clear, like go through all the standards at least once a week, solve questions in ethics along with memorizing the standard. It is very important that you solve questions, because when you'll be solving questions, you'll be facing different types of scenarios where you'll be applying those standards. So apart from mugging up the standards, you will be understanding on how to apply these standards. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so start solving the questions side by side for every chapter, not just ethics, whatever chapters are going on. Whenever you complete any topic, solve those questions on the, CFA curriculum, LES you have, solve the questions there. Because if you wait for the whole syllabus to get completed and then you'll start solving questions, it will be very hectic for you guys. because then again you have to sit and revise all the topics, and then you will have to study it, because you have a lot of topics under the CFA curriculum. The curriculum is all about many topics. So start solving questions from now on. And after ethics, are there any suggestions for what topics you want to take up? Obviously, I'll be discussing it with sir, but any suggestions from you guys?
No, alternative investment.
Alternative investment. Cynthia?
Yeah, same.
Okay, and okay, this much for today. So tomorrow we'll try to complete 5 and 6 standard. Till then, enjoy. Happy weekends, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.